Hello, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I'm Bree. Today's video is one that I've seen around a decent amount, and I never made one because I have been pretty good about reading books I've owned, but I am now at 3 to 4 years on booktube. I can't remember exactly. And I have accumulated some books that have been sitting on my shelves for that or longer. And so I've decided I'm going to do what you saw in the title, which is I have to read it or unhaul it in 2025. If I don't read these books by the end of 2025, they expire, so I will have to unhaul them. I have quite a bit of stack here, and really you're going to see a theme that it's kind of thrillers and some fantasy that I picked up that I just am not gravitating towards. So without further ado, let's get into the books that I want to talk to you about. Now, I'm not going to go into really synopsis. I'm just going to show you the books, maybe give you a little bit about why I need to read them, and then we will go on from there. So the first I have is The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. I did try this. I got maybe like 50 pages in, and it's a very slow book, and I don't know if it's going to be for me. So I kind of soft DNF'd it. I've heard it's really cozy, and that's why I picked it up, because a lot of people recommended it for cozy, but it's very like convoluted in the structure of it, like the magic. I think that it's interesting where we're following just a guy like having to take over the throne and like his day-to-day life and a lot of in his head. So I feel like it could work for me, but I just don't know if like the way it's written is going to work for me. So I need to give it another go. And if I DNF it, then I need to just decide that it's not for me and move on. This is also a book I picked up, and since picking it up, I just don't know if these kind of books work for me. So this is called All the Murmuring Bones by A.G. Slater, and I know it's like a gothic fantasy with mermaids and a town that's like sacrificing things to mermaids. And the thing with this is that I've read a lot of books that like promise fantasy but like do just like a sprinkle of it. I need you to actually do magic if you're gonna have magic. I'm trying to think, I'll put up the book that I'm thinking about here that was basically just like historical fiction but sprinkle in a little bit of magic, and I wasn't interested in the story at that point. So I'm just worried that this is going to fall into a similar category where it's just a sprinkle of magic but really not a lot happens. I need it to go there if it's going to go there, and I feel like I'm unsure about it, so I just need to give it a try and see if it's for me, and if not, unhaul it. Now this one's on the list for no other reason than I need to push myself to read it. I know that I'm going to get spoiled for it, and if I don't read it soon, then that is for sure going to happen. I've already put it off long enough that I know I'll get spoiled at some point. That's Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I feel like I could really like this. I know it's labyrinth and kind of weird and twisty. I think I'm going to really like it, but I just keep not picking it up, and I don't know why. I think maybe because I've hyped it up so much in my head, and so I'm hoping that putting it on this list forces me to pick it up, because it's been on my TBR for a while and it's something that I've talked about wanting to read for so long, but I just keep not doing it. Okay, this one I got halfway-ish through, and I soft DNF'd it because I don't think this kind of horror is for me. This is like a lost in the woods and something's chasing them kind of horror. It's very like action-y, and if you've ever seen those horror movies where someone gets lost in the woods and there's like a monster or something after them and they're just like racing against the clock, that has never been my kind of thing. I picked it up because I had read the Darcy Coates Whispering Dead trilogy, Gravekeeper series. I don't know why I said trilogy. The Gravekeeper series, and I really liked it, and it was paranormal, and it was a little horror but more like paranormal fantasy. And so at half price I saw another Darcy Coates there, and I know people have really loved her books and she has a ton, and so I picked this one up not realizing exactly what it was, and I don't know if it's for me. I got through like half the audiobook. We're also following a character who's insufferable and like is very much a stalker but thinks he's not, and I did not like being in his head. And I just don't think like it was gonna add anything to the story for me. I don't mind being in like a villain perspective, but this one just wasn't working for me. So I need to decide if I'm going to like finish it or just call it a day. So that's why it is on this list. Now this one's a mystery that I've had for a while, and I've heard good things, but I haven't picked it up. It's The Enigma of Room 622. Really, the thing that's stopping me from reading this is I don't read mysteries that are like this long. I worry it's gonna be slow and that I'm gonna be bored. But that's like the only thing. All I know is it's like in a hotel room and someone dies, and it's in like a Swiss hotel. So I really don't know what to expect. At this point, I can't even like remember what the synopsis was other than it being in a hotel and someone probably dying. And so, yeah, it's just like I picked it up and I was excited for it at the time, and then I didn't read it right away, and I feel like my excitement has kind of waned for it. So I need to decide if I'm going to read it. And honestly, the sheer volume I don't mind a longer fantasy book, but a mystery, I worry that I'm going to be lost and bored in it because there's usually not as much to keep me engaged in a mystery when it's longer like that. So we will see if I read it this year. Then I'm putting this one on there because I picked this up. It's part of a series. This is the third one. I think there's only like 3 or 4 out, so I don't think that I have much more to read. It's a historical fantasy set in like medieval times, and I did really like the first 2, but I'm wondering if like my nostalgia for the series comes from reading it in college and getting to like dissect it, and that I'm just not as interested anymore. I've also like slowed down on my historical mystery reading because they get a little formulaic, so I have to find a series I really love and then read that series and finish it that year. And so last year it was the Veronica Speedwell series. I read it all and now I'm caught up. And lately I've been reading this series, which is historical mystery series, and so I want to catch up on that. And so I've just neglected this one. I can't tell if I'm just ready to be done with the series or if I do want to prioritize it and read through it. So I think I just need to give this third one a go, but I'm worried I also don't remember anything from the other 2. So it's like, do I need to reread? And I don't want to reread the other 2. So yeah, I just need to decide if it's time to part with this or not, and this will hopefully make me do that. And then we have a Megan Miranda, Such a Quiet Place. I've started and stopped this like 4 times. I'm just not in my thriller era. I don't know what it is. I think if I want to read a thriller, I need something that's kind of wild and out there and just like a little bit weird. I think that these just general kind of domestic thrillers are not really for me. I don't know if this one's considered a domestic thriller, but I know someone was killed in this neighborhood and the woman who was charged for it is like finally coming back after getting out. And I believe her conviction was overturned, and I believe they're going to find out what really happened to that person. And we're following a friend of the person who was in jail. And I think she was probably friends with the person who was killed. I don't know. I read on Megan Miranda when I first started my booktube channel, All the Missing Girls, and really liked it. I really liked the way it played with time. And so I picked up a bunch of other Megan Miranda to read, and then I've just never picked up another thing from her. And I don't know if it's just like time to move on from these kind of thrillers or if I will really like it. So I have them, so I feel like I should just give them a go. I don't want to like just unhaul them because I could really like them and it could be a thriller I really like, and then I can know what Megan Miranda's for me. But I also am worried that I'm just gonna feel mid about it. So I need to specifically read that one, but I have more on my TBR that I could get to. And then this is in the same vein. This is Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. I was originally going to do a Agatha Christie reading vlog where I read books based on like Agatha Christie books, and that just never came to fruition. I realized I'm not the best with themed reading vlogs, and so I kind of gave up on this one, and I got it from Book of the Month when I was trying it, and I just never read it. I did try it on audiobook, and I was interested in it. So it is one that I think I could like because I did like Agatha Christie, and I think this is like a locked room mystery. They're locked on an island and they can't get off, and I think it's going to have family drama. The thing that made me not read it after I picked up 2 is it has gotten very mixed reviews. Some people 1-star this, really hate it, and other people think it's 5-star and really love it. So I just don't know where I'm going to fall, and again, with thrillers, I'm just not in my thriller era. And so I really need something to like get me to pick this up, as I've said for every book on this list. So hopefully I will read it in 2025. Then I have The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. Now, this is embarrassing, but I had bought this book, unhauled it, and then didn't realize I had ever owned the book. So then I saw this at the bookstore and I bought it again. And then I've never read it. So clearly I haven't had the most passion to read this book. I can't tell if this is going to have any kind of like magic elements, like a bit speculative, but there's a mystery, and honestly, like I don't know like anything about this, and I just don't think I'll ever pick it up if I don't force myself to. Literally, I don't know. I don't know what this is about, and clearly I shouldn't have bought it again. So this is one of those where I'm trying to get better about my purchases, and I do feel like I've been better about buying books from authors I've really read and loved before, and also anticipated releases or continuing series that I really like, instead of just like these random books that I've never read anything from an author before and I don't really know much about it. At the beginning of my booktube channel, I did do that a lot and I regret it. So I just see something about a game. So, and it says Ex Libris, so it does feel dark academia. So maybe that's why I picked it up, because I wanted to see if I like dark academia. But I don't know. I don't think I'm going to read it anytime soon. So it's on this list. And then this is one I've had way before my booktube channel, and I think I could really like it, but I think I could also really dislike it. And that is The Once and Future Witches by Alexi Harrow. I read The Spindle Splintered by them. I really didn't like it. And so it's kind of put me off this, even though I owned this one first. And I've just heard it's really good. It's got witches and everything, and it's like a historical fantasy. So I think I could like it, but I also don't know if this is going to fall into the sprinkle of magic category and be mostly like historical fiction, and if I'm not going to like it. So if you've read this, can you just tell me down below, like, is this got magic or is it like just a sprinkle of magic and mostly historical fiction? Because I really need to know. There's something about it that I just don't know if it's going to work for me, and so I've had it and I've kept putting it off. Literally, I think I've had it on my shelves since it debuted in 2020, and I haven't picked it up. So that tells me that I'm not all that interested in it. It's just had such good reviews that part of me feels like I should pick it up. So there you go. These books will expire in the end of 2025 if I don't read them. Hopefully this will push me to read some of these books or decide that I'm just ready to part with them. Either one. Because I need to make room on my shelves. I'm not full, but I really only want to have books on the shelves that I'm really excited for. And these ones I just have not been excited for. So, and they're not like literary fiction. I didn't really put any literary fiction on here because I tend to save those for a rainy day, and so I don't mind that I have a couple on there that have been on for a long time. Fantasy and like thrillers and stuff, I have a finite amount of time where I like want to read them before I lose interest, and so I'm trying to get to some of the things that have lingered on my TBR for a while before I completely just lose interest. So that's all to say that these are the books I will be unhauling if I don't read them. If you want to leave a book emoji down below, I would love to see it if you reach to the end. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.